Well, Paul, first of all, I'll get into my questions in a moment, but I just want to say how great it is to see you back here at the ballpark.
I appreciate that.
You look very tan. I got to get your secret. You're looking good. You look like you've been at the beach. Have you been?
I haven't been at the beach. The secret is to have chickens, a garden, and a farm. And there's always something to do, and you're always outside. So, and then I saw on another podcast where you want 15 minutes of sunlight a day. So I try to get that.
Okay.
That's my secret.
That sounds right. There is something to be said for just, we get so busy around here, especially in the season. Sometimes when I'm at home, if I have a few hours, and I actually look forward to like mowing grass and spreading mulch. The spreading mulch, I look forward to that to a certain extent. The grass I'm okay with, but it is just so nice to be outside. Well, I need to be
honest, man. It's therapy for me. Have you ever gotten on a tractor?
Oh yeah, it's great. Cutting grass, tractor, just outside with some piece of machinery. It's great.
That's me.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to talk my wife into getting some chickens in the yard then. That's the secret. Well, no, it's great to have you back here. I can say I feel like the Truist Park and the office and the fans and everything, it's a little happier when Paul Byrd is around. So it's just great to have you back around. So welcome back.
Well, let me say something on that. I appreciate you saying that because all we want to do is be missed, matter somewhere. I'm very touchy-feely. I'm very huggy. I enjoy life. For those of you who are Enneagrammers, I'm a 7 with a 7 wing on the scale, and I love people. And I thought I would really miss talking about sliders, and I did, but it was the people that I missed when I came back to the park. And I felt like the culture with the Atlanta Braves is just extremely special. They don't forget you. And when I walked through the door with a new broadcasting jersey on, or whatever you want to call it, and people grabbed me and I was able to give them a hug, and they said how much they missed me. Like, that for me was everything.
Yeah.
Vocationally, everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't mind just talking a little bit about, I know Braves on Gray released, it was a really, really cool emotional clip on social media just talking about your absence and what you had to deal with.
Yeah.
So if you just whatever you're comfortable with, I mean, just why did you have to step away?
Okay. So my wife went into sepsis, which is a disease. Well, it's an infection in your body. So my wife, the doctor either didn't wash his hands or they didn't wash the instruments, one of the nurses, and so she got a bacteria that is found in your colon. You either get that if that's the case and somebody didn't take precautions, or if you get in a car accident and your colon is ruptured. So she got, wasn't in a car accident. So she went in for kidney surgery because there was a stone that they couldn't break up, and she had to have like 5 surgeries. And after her third one, she became septic, and they didn't know why. And so sepsis is an infection in your body, and your heart will stop pumping blood. It will slow everything down. And so that was really, really hard. I don't know how much you want to know.
I mean, I don't want you to have to relive the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I don't know, I'll just tell you what I experienced. And she was laughing with me in the, waiting room the night before, and we were telling jokes and we tease each other. And then the next day, the doctor said, she's not going to make it. Just get everybody together. And I've never experienced that kind of pain in my life.
Yeah.
So we've been married 31 years. We have 2 boys. And so I called the boys, and my youngest, Colby, came right away. And Grayson was at a wedding at Clemson and said, Dad, I had too much to drink. And
oh, no.
What do you do? That it was, but he got some coffee and a friend, and I don't know, he got here, and that was it was an awful experience. So you have sepsis, then you have severe sepsis, which is a different degree of sepsis, and then septic shock. And shock is when 50% of the people die. You go immediately, to the ICU. And then if you make it past that and you come back, because your heart stops pumping blood, you lose arms, legs, fingers, toes. Some people come back and they're just a body, and it's just awful. And so her hands were swollen, her fingers, toes. It was just super, super swollen. And then she was shaking, and I was just laying on her. And It's awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was really, really great when she made it.
Yeah.
And that was like the greatest day of my life, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah.
When you come through something like that, so I found this about a year ago. My daughter was born, so she was a couple months premature. And we spent a couple months in the hospital. My wife was in the high-risk ward for a month. My daughter's in the NICU for a month. And, you know, I tell you, a lot of things that I thought were important before that, boy, it put a lot of stuff into perspective.
What it does.
And it does. And I think coming out of it for me,
yeah,
I always love coming here to this ballpark. I love my job. I love seeing the people. But it's after that, it made me appreciate it that much more. And it made me appreciate everything I've got in my life that much more.
Yeah.
So I imagine that had to be a similar thing for you where it's like, oh, everything you thought you knew, it just puts it in this whole different perspective of living, I feel like.
Can this podcast be edited?
Yeah.
So you can cut stuff out?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to decide if you want this or not. So we're Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, when she came to, she didn't want to be here. So that was another battle. She said she was walking with Jesus and felt the greatest peace she's ever felt in her life.
That's incredible. That is incredible.
So you can choose if you want to edit that out. I'm not a Christian that like beats people over the head or always, but if you want me to give you an honest, true podcast, that was mine. And everybody has different near-death experiences. But we joke around a lot and, you know, say like, you know, you'll never get married again, or, you know, all this stuff or whatever. And she had none of that. She said, let me go. And she said, sign that. I'm like, I'm not going to sign anything that says you can't be resuscitated. And she said, no, you'll be fine. Now, this is a woman who has not seen grandkids yet. I hope we have a long time left, but we don't. We don't know, you know. And those are the things that came to life for me afterwards. Like, oh, we really are not guaranteed tomorrow. Money doesn't matter as much as we think it does. What is really, truly important in life, and what do you want to give your time to? You know, my wife moved us 56 times when I was playing because I wasn't good enough to stay with one team, but I wasn't bad enough to retire. So we moved, and I got sent down. And you just look at my record and my times with the Braves, it was like up, down, up, down, up, down, traded to Philly, made the All-Star team, got sent down the next year, arm surgery, back up, back down, traded to Kansas City in 2001. And that was just our lives. And so and I love baseball. I'm so passionate about it. And it was so great. You know, we got married and she asked me to quit the first year that I was playing. And I was in AA. I'd already made a full year in AAA, and I was back in AA. And she said, you're getting people out and you're not going anywhere. You're going backwards. She goes, let's go back home to Baton Rouge and start a family, which sounded great to me because it was like, okay, she loves me for me, but I'm so close. So we cut a deal that if I was in the big leagues within a year, we would stay in baseball. And I made it up with the Mets that next year. I got traded, made it up with the Mets, and then didn't retire until 14 years later in 2009. And she hates baseball.
Oh, man.
And she moved us 56 times, and she's seen a lot of games. So my son, who was an All-American at Clemson, I'm so proud of him, played for the Cubs a little bit in the minors after having a broken back. Like, man, what a warrior. He would be up to the plate in a big at-bat at Clemson, and she would be knitting. And I would hit her, and I would go, your son's hitting in a big situation. She's like, oh, great. And she would just keep going. I'm like, so she is, she is coming to the game tonight for the first time in I don't know how many years.
Oh, that is awesome. Tonight's the first time. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
My oldest son is bringing her, and my younger son is coming too.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, to be honored, just the fact that anybody cares, and I'm on an alumni list, and can come back and matter is just, it means the world to me. And so so she made it. And if you get an illness, then your heart rate's going to go up and your temperature is going to go up, and you're going to fight that illness. And so when you're septic, your temperature goes up and your heart rate will go down. And so that's one of the signs, and you'll start talking kind of goofy. So I have to watch for things like that. And then when her body shut down and jumped back online, she deleted files. So she will, wake up in the middle of the night and not know who I am for a brief time. And just some things like that. And that's why I can't go on road trips. And that's why I took 2 years off from broadcasting. And I thought that was, it was over. And then, so 162 games in our business, 60 games is network consistency. So what that means is when you turn on the TV, people want to see their guys. They want to see their people. So if you do 20 games, that's not enough to establish network consistency. Well, people will get used to seeing that. So then that's a Nielsen rating study thing. So when FanDuel called me and they said, we'll take 10 games, she looked at me and she said, go. And I was like, are you going to be okay? And she said, no, I want you to go. Like, I'm tired of you staring at me, asking me if I'm okay.
Right. She's like, get
she's
out
like,
of the house.
For me, go. Yeah. Right. So there's some little things like that, but it looks good. It's a 5-year recovery total, and she's in her 3rd year, and she keeps all her fingers, hands, and toes. And, that night when she was shaking and I laid on top of her, and, they're jamming epinephrine in her to try and get her heart to pump blood and everything like that. That's where, it's like a computer shutting down. So when it comes back up, you delete some files. And I just, so there's some things that she has forgotten. And then there's some, like, she may have a conversation with you on Friday and forget she talked to you on Monday, and then remind her some certain things, but she's getting better, and those are getting fewer and far between. So that's the progress. That's the growth. Each part of your organs have had some sort of damage, but, again, that computer's coming back on, and I tease her and I say, why didn't you delete any of those files where I just said stupid stuff, especially year one, those are the last to go. She's got them locked away in a vault. So who remembers those? They were yesterday. So, but we have a good thing going, and we enjoy each other's company. And that's another thing I've learned is I've never not worked for 2 years. And as a man, unfortunately, I think sometimes as men, we get our identity out of what we do, women in their relationships. And for me to put down my sword at an age when I've still felt like I could do something, work, bring something to the table, I learned what was important.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
I learned the value of time.
Absolutely.
And I'll be quiet so you can ask another question.
No.
You got to be careful when you ask me a question.
No, we've been at this 7 years, a couple hundred episodes, and this is an all-time moment in all of those.
Well, thank you. And I didn't know I was going to be on camera, so
you look good. I told you look tan.
Okay that a man's cried here at this desk.
Well,
and
this is why we don't have 2 cameras, because I'm not as tan and good looking as you, but also I started tearing up, so I'm able to hide.
Which there's no camera on you. So
yeah, no.
Thank you for saying that. I'm gonna pull my sleeves up so everybody will think I'm a little tougher, still soft, but a little tougher.
We're good. I mean, we're getting a little deep here, but that's okay. What you just said something there that's so true that I found out during COVID when we didn't have baseball and essentially I wasn't working, was I found out how much of my identity in life was completely tied up to my job. And it messed with my head a little bit. And I still love this job so much. I love being here. I love everything that comes along with it. But that is something that was hard to get through. And everybody was dealing with something during that time. But I was discovering just how much how much of me was completely wrapped up in just this,
Yeah.
and just what I do. And that was one of those things where I was like, I need to reevaluate some things probably. And I still here all the time, and I still love it. But it was a good check. You're right about that. That is something we all do. So when you're coming back, first time on camera, on a mic in a couple of years, how did it feel? Did you feel any rust? Was it all just pure excitement? Was it anxiety? Was it all of the above? What did that feel like?
So, it was great. It was wonderful. Lauren Jabara was our host. I came back on with Braves on Gray, and they asked me to do opening day, which was on the road. So I did it at a block party down by the old stadium at
at Summer Hill.
Yeah,
Nice.
Summer Hill. And
Nice.
I mean, for those of you who haven't been to Summer Hill, my goodness, wow.
It's cool, right?
They upgraded that place. Yeah, it was fantastic. And so first two sets, A block, B block, good. Third set, now I'm out in the area in Summer Hill, and they go to me, bloopers behind me, and a guy hits me and drops an F-bomb. We're live, and I'm just like right out of the gate. And then sometimes when you have a complicated read, I'll give away one of my secrets here. You'll have a piece of paper like this, and you'll write on that piece of paper what you want to say. So we had like Sandy Koufax and Walter Johnson, and I forget the third. This is why it's written down. And there was three of those that were 3-time Triple Crown winners, pitchers like Sale. So I was going to do a trivia question with those. And so this was taped, onto the thing, and the wind did like this. Oh, no. And I'm like, Sandy Koufax, and then you, and they're like, commercial in 10, when they say that in your ear. And it was an awful toss. And I was like, welcome back. So, playing baseball is not easy. Umpiring is not easy. Being a GM and making choices on who you're going to trade for is not easy. And broadcasting is not easy. There is a art to it. And I was pretty rusty. But I will say this. The failure or the bad moment, the bad hit, I can be a perfectionist too. It didn't stick with me before, like it would have before, because I realized in the grand scheme of things, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm talking about a guy who throws a ball, who holds, a glove, and another guy that's holding a stick. And it's not life or death. It's okay.
Yeah. That's such great perspective. Like,
yeah, that helped me.
Yeah. So this is not on camera, so definitely not the same level of scrutiny, but this is my 11th season, so I've done mostly social media has been a lot of what I've done with the Braves, and there would come a time for the first, 6-7 years of that, every year, every opening day. Well, the first one I was a nervous wreck. I was just sending out posts that are going to go to hundreds of thousands, millions of people, like, don't screw up. I didn't screw up too many times, thankfully. Had some that I learned from. But every year opening day, the first game, I would always have anxiety leading up to the game of like, what if I forgot how to do all this?
Yeah.
What if I forgot, what if it's just not there?
Right.
And listen, it's so silly in the grand scheme of things because we're talking about typing out some words about a guy throwing a ball and hitting a ball onto a computer that's being read. So if you really break it down, it's like, well, it's nothing to be nervous about. But every single year for opening day, I would get that same level of anxiety of like, what if I just freeze up and nothing's there. I don't even know what to say. And then, Ronald Acuna hits a home run or Austin Riley hits a double or whatever. And then it's like, oh, wait, there it is. I remember how to do this now. I remember how to do this. So it's just got to shake off that rust a little bit. And get
That's
back
what
out
it
there
is.
and do it.
And you got to make your point, get in and out. I can talk too much, like I said, and linger. But there is an art to it. And then, I've had some really good teachers and mentors. Mike Iacchino, who's since passed, but when I started years ago at the desk, he was instrumental in really making sure you cared and put the best show you could put out there. And he said, pick your brand. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, well, do you want to be the guy that puts everybody down? Or do you want to be the guy that when they make an error says, well, Dansby Swanson would be the first to tell you he should have had that ball. Or, that's all, do you want to be loud and boisterous? I'm a fan of Stephen A. Smith. That's his brand. And then they're like, so if you have a camera here and say Jerome Dravinich and Nick Green is my, host, that camera straight ahead, and this, people out there may not. That's a 2-shot because you're going to have 2 on camera. And then when you say, look to the camera with it's specialized right here, that's called a 1-shot when you want to explain something and the focus is on you and your host is out of the picture. So I struggled with when to look at my 1 and 2 shot, and I was lost, and it was killing the broadcast. And so I started studying broadcasters, and one of the broadcasters I looked at was Charles Barkley, and he never looked at his 1 shot.
Right.
He slammed his, and he made a point, and he didn't answer Ernie's question.
Right.
And he went off on a tirade and all this, and then he pitched it back. And he broke all the rules. But what I learned about that was to be yourself. To be yourself. And Peter Gammons told me, I asked him, I said, what's the number one thing I can can do, or give me one tip, Peter. And he said, well, I know you. He said, but I think this is true of all broadcasters or in everything you do. He said, communicate your passion for the game. That's it. And I was like, I can do that. That's easy.
If you really love it, then it's easy, right?
And then in watching with Barkley, and I said he broke all the rules, and I learned this, it was the epitome or the perfect example of being yourself. And it wasn't an act. And so I learned the value of those 2 things. And that's what people missed. I mess up all the time. I've messed up 4 times since I've come back on camera, and I've been on camera like 10 games.
Yeah.
And I used to think it was about being really clean, crisp, and never mispronouncing a word or never messing up, which I mess up a lot in life. Like, you can ask my wife. Those are the files she kept.
Right.
I say stupid stuff or things I wish I could take back. And I learned that. I learned that value, and I think that's what people missed, and I missed that. And people have told me, you're a homer. You're for the Braves. It's so obvious. And I'm like, I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am. You want me to be myself? Okay, I'm going to be myself. I'm for the Braves.
Yeah.
When I'm up there, I don't really particularly want to cheer when another team hits a home run. I don't feel that. That's not genuine within me. And I want to fight when they get in a fight, because it's like I'm used to being a player, and now I got to sit on the bench. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
But I find myself really getting emotional when Brian Snitker is in Miami protecting Ronald Acuna because he got hit so many times. And he's, it's like, so I have a lot of that player still in me, and I get emotional on the broadcast. So when they're losing, I have to be real careful not to turn it down or mope or anything like that, because that's not a good show. But
right.
I do genuinely care about the team, and baseball is not easy. So that's why I say too, I'm going to say, he'll be the first to tell you he should have had that play. And then I'm going to get on you if you don't hustle, but I'm not going to get on you if you don't make the play or make the pitch, because baseball is hard. I will get on you if you don't look like you care, or I'll say you didn't care to back up that base, whether that was emotional laziness or whether that was physically something's wrong with you. That's another thing I want to know is who's got what going on. Most players aren't 100%. So did the coach tell you to jog easy to first because you got a bad hamstring, unless you hit a double off the wall and you have to leg it out? Those are the things I want to know, because those are the things that go on inside the locker room that a fan doesn't necessarily see. Last thing I'll say this for you young broadcasters who may be watching, another one of my brands is to tell people what they can't get on a computer. So I don't want to be the guy that, even though I know spin rates or this and that, and I want to touch on it because I think it can give you authority, I want to give you something you can't get from a computer. And so even when I talk to younger broadcasters, particularly female, who may say, I don't have that, I can't say I pitched in this game and threw that slider, I'll say, well, you're going to get your authority because you got a locker room pass. So you can say, I was talking to Brian Snitker and he said, and you have instant credibility, or I was talking to that pitcher and here's the difference in his spin rates. However you want to do that, you can still talk about stuff you can't get from a computer because you have access and you have knowledge that other people won't have, even if they played the game. And so I think there's ways that we discover as broadcasters how to present those things that makes the broadcast better.
You just touched on so many things there that I mean, obviously I didn't scream here, but I wanted to scream from the rooftops. Yes, 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 that's exactly right. That's why people like certain broadcasters or find themselves drawn to them. That's why Braves Country loves you so much. That's why when people watch Charles Barkley, they laugh their heads off, or when he's being serious, they take him seriously because you don't watch that guy and think he's being anything other than himself. You know he's a really funny guy that can crack on, well, pick your city in Texas and on whatever day it is, if it's Galveston or San Antonio or whatever.
Yeah.
But also if he's being dead serious. And that's the same with you. I think fans love you because they feel your enthusiasm is real, because I feel like, especially if it's something that you're watching on a regular basis, if you're a big Braves fan, you're watching every Braves game you can, or whatever team it is that you're watching, you become familiar with folks, and I think you can pick up on if somebody's being not genuine or if it's kind of an act, you know? And when it's real and authentic, it draws you and endears you to that person or that broadcaster or that broadcast.
Yeah.
So I love everything you said there. And then you're so right about, it's part of what I love about doing this show is I get to sit here and talk with guys who played in the big leagues, who broadcast the big leagues, or have some job in the office that I could never hold, but I'm so fascinated by, and I can hear there's no set of data, I don't even know the right way to say it.
Either works.
Yeah, a spreadsheet, there's nothing that I can read that's going to teach me better than listening to the experience of somebody who actually did it. So that's I just love everything you said there. What so you've already done about 10. How many games you think you're doing this year?
Yeah,
roughly?
I'm going to do 40. So they said, Paul, we'll take 10 games, and I said, I know enough about broadcasting that that's not enough to be good at it. You won't get in a rhythm, and you also go in that locker room and you build trust with the guys. They know if you're like out to get them and trick them and act like you're their friends, and then a big story comes out, or if you're sincere on reporting them and their personality. That's another thing I try to do. Like Nick Markakis was significantly different than Ronald Acuna. And regardless if I'm more like Nick or I'm more like Ronald, my job as a broadcaster is to present each one of their point of view. So Nick was called the professional. That was his nickname, and he would hit a home run and run around the bases, zero emotion. And Ronald would be doing cartwheels. And you could say old school or new school, or you could just say they were different people. And there wasn't a right way or a wrong way. You hit the home run. You get to trot the way you want to trot. And I sent something out. This is the way the professional rounds the bases. And I got destroyed for that. Like, man, you old cranky guys won't, and it was all these things. I said, no. First of all, that's his nickname. Second of all, that's how he acts. And it's not better or worse than Ronald. It doesn't mean that he doesn't love the game or, and then when Ronald does what he does, these are the things I love in broadcasting. Ronald Acuna's dad played for the Mets, and in Double-A, he went 2 for 2. He was super joyous. When he went 0 for 4, he came home, and you could not even talk to him. That was his dad. So I know those kinds of players. And so his dad sat him down when he was a kid, and he said, I will only help you or teach you or work with you if you promise me that in baseball every day is a good day and you have fun every day. So I knew the backstory of why Ronald acts the way he acts. So I want to celebrate the way Ronald plays the game and let him be himself. And there's a beauty in that. But I think in the media at times, everybody sees things as the right way, the wrong way to play the game. The way you didn't hit the home run. You didn't strike the guy out. You didn't train. You weren't raised in the marinade of the father or the mother that you had that built into you. So as a broadcaster, one of my jobs in that locker room is to understand those stories, understand the origin of why they are the way they are, and find that one story, capture that one moment that makes it a better broadcast. And if I do that, I feel like I have done a good job with my vocation, even though it's not my life source and it's not my identity, but I want to do it well because I want to do everything with excellence. So that matters to me.
That's beautiful. I don't think there's a better place to stop than right there. That is a perfect place to stop.
We're done?
We're done, man. Well,
this is the easiest podcast I've ever done.
I was going to say that too. You got to get out there and sign autographs. So I don't want to keep you. Otherwise, Doug's going to start throwing stuff at me.
That's funny.
No, like I started at the top, man. It's so great to have you back here. I know Braves fans are so happy that you're back and to see you on their TVs again, both on FanDuel and on Braves on Gray. And also thank you for being so just willing to share your story of everything that's gone on. I mean, I think that's more than anything. And I meant what I said earlier. That's really the purpose of this show. It's the whole idea of behind the Braves. It's to get to know the folks that fans see on their TV or on the field, or maybe that work behind the scenes, but they get to hear about their job. It's to find out who they are as people and what they're all about. And if you ask me again, in the 7 years that we've been doing this show, to pull an episode that exemplifies that, it's going to be this one right here. So thank you very much.
I appreciate
for
that. Thank you for having me on, caring, and welcoming me back. You know, I care about people. I love people sometimes. People I don't even know that well, you know. I see the Braves fans, and I feel instant connection and want to get to know them. So I've missed all of that.
Well, it's a beautiful thing that you're back, and thank you for being here, Paul. We appreciate you, man.
You got it.